It's Hebrew Israelism. Next slide. Let's break this down. Out of those surveyed, 62% said, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not familiar with their teachings. This is actually a slide that I didn't create, except I created the little circles in the square. But all this is from their data, right? So 62% said, I don't know what that is. 9%, 9% said, I disagree with most of the ideas. 6% said, I oppose them. I oppose those teachings. What that means is about 15% that are aware of it, those who know it, 15% people disagree with the essence of it, right? But let's go to the next slide. How many agree? Those who are familiar, down here in the bottom two categories, remember I mentioned the 4% number, that's where you get 1,000,008. But look at this. I agree with most of the core ideas taught by Black Hebrew Israelites, 19%. That means 23%, almost a quarter, 23% agree with the essence of Hebrew Israelism. That's what they're saying. So more people, once they hear about it, agree as opposed to disagree. That's important to understand. It means a few things. Next slide. There's very little inoculation, because once you're aware, you're more likely to agree than disagree. So that means there need to be some preventative measures taken. Now let's put some faces to these numbers.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachach, with Dash double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Shalom to the men of the Lord prophesying, preaching and teaching on the highways and byways in sincerity and in truth. Shalom Barakatham. And you heard this guy, Vocab, man, who's him and these Christians are completely shook, you know, don't know what to do. All right. And they're losing. All right. Why? Because these guys, now this is Pew Research Center here. All right. Pew Research. Now that's a very famous research and statistic firm that does, you know, statistical analysis and, you know, responsible for a lot of research and statistics. That they're basically leveraging this, the church is, to find out more about Israelites. For what? When we have nothing to do with your ministry, right? And the funny thing about this whole thing is why are they so interested in what we're doing? Because they see us as competition, you know. Like if we're on different doctrines, then what difference does it make? If you have a pizza shop and we have an ice cream shop, we should be all good. You know, you sell pizza, I sell ice cream. We're competing in the sense that we sell food, but we don't sell the same thing. So why are they going so hard against a group that don't even preach the same thing? We don't even have churches. We're not collecting money like that, you know. We don't have these fancy buildings. We're not pushing tights heavy on people the way that other churches push it on people, you know. But these guys are straight up shook, man. You know. And when if I move this up, it says there's 1 million Hebrew Israelites. There's 1 million Hebrew Israelites. Church not ready. Well, y'all never were ready. And to be completely frank with you, there's really nothing you can do, man, to stop this. You know, this is ordained by the Heavenly Father, man. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. And let's read what he said, because he getting into the numbers. So when you look at this number, most of Jake basically hadn't heard it. This is out of about 1,000 people, okay, that they studied. Now they didn't count 1.8 million Hebrew Israelites. What they did was extrapolate it from 1,000 people. They said, okay, X percentage of these people believe in Hebrew Israelites. So let's take that percentage and apply it to the 14 million population Esau has on the books now. You know, I believe that that number is much higher, you know, personally, but we won't know until we know, you know. But what they're worried about is this 62% that don't know, because when we do know, when you look at these four smaller ones, 23% versus 15% agree, which means of the Jakes that do know, 60% of Jake is with it. You know, and now it's important to note that this is just the Southern Kingdom, people who call so-called black, so that would be you Southern Kingdom, you know, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, you know. So when you go out to the Northern Kingdom, man, it's even higher than that. But you can see that, you know, Jake is learning, man. He's growing. All right. And that's how we know we're at the end of this thing. Because what happened in the time of Acts, man, you know, Peter would you know, he gained 3,000 souls in, you know, in one day. You know, and part of that is those miracles that are being performed. Now, when we start performing these miracles, man, watch how many Hebrew Israelites or how many so-called black people start calling themselves Hebrew Israelites. Just watch, because that's coming, brothers, through faith. You know. But Esau said it through Vocab. He said we got to take preventative measures.
I mentioned the 4% number. That's where you get 1,000,008. But look at this. I agree with most of the core ideas taught by black Hebrew Israelites. 19%. That means 23%, almost a quarter, 23% agree with the essence of Hebrew Israelism. That's what they're saying. So more people, once they hear about it, agree as opposed to disagree. That's important to understand. A few things. Next slide. There's very little inoculation, because once you're aware, you're more likely to agree than disagree. So that means there need to be some preventative measures taken.
There needs to be some preventative measures taken, man. Shook. Now why? Why do you need to stop so-called black people from learning about this? So they can get money in their pockets. No, become a Christian. They're not talking about Muslims, right? Because if you really thought that, you know, Jake was gonna burn in hell, and because he don't believe in Jesus, you would be chasing the Muslims. There's a lot of Jakes that are Muslims, but you aren't, are you? Because you fear what we're preaching, because you know what we're preaching is the truth. It's the gospel. I'm gonna bring that out in a few precepts, man. But 1.8 million, and that's a very, very conservative estimate. Now you got to remember that the Northern Kingdom is more than double our population. Salakia, it's more than our population. You know, I have to look it up, but I think they're probably over 50 million Northern Kingdom here. Okay. So Esau is worried, man, you know, and look at where this guy is at. He's in a conference. Let me go back. He's on this big ass stage somewhere in Tampa, speaking to these Edomites about how do we keep these niggas asleep, indoctrinated. You know, worried. And I encourage you brothers to watch this whole video. It's just on Vocab, my long page. Let me just get the precept, man. You know, because we knew, man. This is the book of Baruch, chapter 2. I'll start at 28. It says, as thou spakest by thy servant Moses in the day when thou didst command him to write the law before the children of Israel, saying, if ye will not hear my voice, surely this very great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations, where I will scatter them. And that number, because some people will get this confused about, well, why does the scripture say we're as the sand of the sea when we're considered when here it's saying we're going to be turned small among the nations, where I will scatter them. Well, that's going into this statistic here. All right. So in America, we're only 14% of the population, right? Because it's in the context of us being scattered. So it says, if you will not hear my voice, surely this very great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations, where I will scatter them. So we would be scattered in all these different countries, and we will be minorities of these countries, meaning we wouldn't make up the majority population of the nations that we would be in. But when you looked at, we're scattered literally everywhere. When you add up all of Jake, especially the speckled birds that don't look like Jake, we're when you add us all up together globally, we're easily the highest count nation, man. Easily, you know. I was doing a little bit of quick math here. If we were 14% of China, just in China alone, there would be 200 million Jakes almost. About. And then in India, there would be another 200. So just in China and India alone will be 400 million Jakes. You know? So that's a very conservative estimate, because we know Jake, in all of the lands that he's in, he's at the bottom. He's at the very bottom of these nations. And one thing we know that we know from when we that you learn basically when you read Exodus and what was going on when we were under the captivity of Egypt, is that when Jake is oppressed, he reproduces more. So the lower we are, the more we reproduce. All right. That's why we have a higher birth rate than Esau, despite having, no money, no funds. All right. Jake just had a kid, man. That's what's in us, man. And so it's standing to reason it would be the same thing here. So these numbers are very conservative. Now you got how many other nations in the world that Jake is in? You got 144 million. That's a spirit in Russia. All right. 125 million in Japan. All right. So that would be another 17 million in Japan. Right. Another 19 million here in Russia. I know, like I said, these are very conservative estimates, So when this truth is preached, man, there's nothing he can do about it. All right. But we would be small among those nations where we're scattered. But overall, when you add us up, man, we're gonna. That's why the miracle is gonna be so unbelievable when you read Wisdom of Solomon 5, because every people at the lowest rung of society is going to be Jake primarily. You look at the slums of India, the poor areas of China, of Malaysia, of South Africa. All of those is where you're going to find Jake. And when the Lord seals that remnant, you're going to just see all of them get gathered up, man, in the chariots, And every nation's going to be like looking at the poorest of their people like, these people? That's what Wisdom of Solomon 5 is all about, man. That's how we know we're on to something, because these guys are putting in heavy. That costs a lot of money to do a Pew Research, man, to go get that statistical data. It says, verse 30, the main point, for I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. All right. But in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. All right. So it was written that we would remember. So you can go through all the numbers you want and say we got to take preventative measures. I don't know what the hell that means, vocab. You want to clarify that, But he's not gonna do that, because that would reveal that this guy has only had nefarious plans for you since the entire time, basically. There's nothing virtuous about these people. This is the devil that the scriptures speak about. All right. And he doesn't have a name at all outside of the Hebrew Israelites. All right. Now watch how this guy gets used later on when things start to play out, when this word truly catches fire. All right. When this number of 62 million that are not familiar, wait till that number is 0. Okay. When everybody's familiar with it. Wait. Just wait and see. The scriptures talk about the devil coming down on us having great wrath, man. All right. This is Matthew 24:14. It says, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. All right. And then shall the end come. All right. So this has never happened under Christianity. Christianity is global. So you have to ask yourself, how many Christians are there in the world? Let me find out. I think it's over 2 billion. How many Christians in the world? 2.3 billion people practice some form of Christianity globally. Now, why hasn't the kingdom come, if that's the truth? All right. The scriptures say right here, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. So on this side, man, it's saying 62% of Jake is not familiar, man. But they're going to be. This thing is gonna, when things take off, man, exponentially, it starts off slow and then it ramps up and then it ramps up and then things grow exponentially. So before you know it, it may have taken the first 30 years, you may have had 10% progress. But then the next 5 years, you might have 60% progress. All right. And then the next 6 months, you could have many hundreds of % more progress. That's how it works exponentially. Things are going to hit a critical mass where Jake is going to wake up and there's going to be nothing Esau can do about it, which we already know because this is all prophecy, as we just read. All right. So this guy is absolutely shook. Now, what is the gospel? This is what Vocab and the Christians are afraid of. All right. It says, the spirit of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashim Hawashai is upon me. Salakia, Isaiah 61:1. Salakia. The spirit of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashim Hawashai is upon me, because the Lord Yahweh hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. Now we know this entire chapter of Isaiah 61 is quoted by Yahushua in the New Testament, but this whole chapter is the gospel. This entire, all 11 verses. All right. Reading the first verse again. The spirit of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashim Hawashai is upon me, but because the Lord Yahweh hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek, he hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted. Who are the meek and the brokenhearted? It's not you Edomites, okay? It's not you Ishmaelites, you Elamites, and you Moabites that are in Jake's hood, profiting off of him, living good, coming in here with benefits. Meanwhile, Jake can't get a dime of reparations. All right, you come open up shit in Jake neighborhood and don't even live there. You go drive home to a suburb in a nice 5-bedroom home, 2-story, and go out there and work in the hood, getting all that money from Jake, and don't spend a dime there, man. It says to proclaim liberty to the captives. All right, and who are the captives? Who were held captive here? Was Esau held captive here? All right. Were you other nations held captive here? And don't say Ammon, the so-called Japanese, because they spent 2 seconds in captivity for going to war with Esau, and even they got paid reparations. Okay. It says, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. All right. So we're the ones that are bound here. This is talking about nobody else. Nobody else. All right. It says to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord Yahweh. Now, why does it say it's acceptable? Because a lot of people are going to have a hard time accepting it. A lot of judgment's going to go out the year that the Lord returns, man. And the day of vengeance of our power. So Esau doesn't like to talk about it in the Christian churches about the day of vengeance. That's a hard topic for them to go over. It says to comfort all that mourn, and the all that they're talking about is Israelites. All right. So don't get simple and think that he's talking about everybody, because when you read right down the next verse, what does it say? To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion. All right. And Zion is another moniker of Israel. All right. We call by many names. All right. We're called Israel. We're called Jews. We're called Zion. All right. We're called Jerusalem many times. All right. We're called the children of the Most High. We go by many names. It says to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion. So to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Esau's not in a heavy spirit. He's out there preaching, just give tithes and you're going to get a Ferrari. Keeping you in this happy spirit. There's always music playing and shit. Because it's just programming to keep you in that docile, meek, and happy-go-lucky spirit, so you continue to give. All right. But you look at us on the corner, man. We're vexed. Sometimes you see us yelling, screaming, all right, cursing, in a spirit of heaviness. It says that they might be called the trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord Jehovah, that he might be glorified. So this isn't the only time we're referred to as trees, because what is a tree? Think about the nature of a tree, man. A tree is planted, right, and then it gives forth fruit. That means it grows, and this is what Vocab is worried about. All right, that these seeds are being planted. These are going to grow up into trees, and then trees pollinate, and they leave fruit, and the fruit of the tree is where the seeds are found. So they can make more trees, and this is how trees reproduce. Now this is what he's worried about, man. That we're these trees of righteousness. All right. It says, and they shall build the old waste, and they shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities, the desolations of many generations. Meaning this generation right here, we're gonna undo all of the wickedness of the previous generations. All right. You know, you can read the rest of this, but what's going to happen. But this is the main point, man. And this gospel is being preached across the whole world right now, man. All right. That's how we know we're at the end. Again, Matthew 24:14. And this is the gospel of the kingdom that shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, which we just read in Isaiah 61. And then shall the end come. All right. So the fact that these guys are pulling up numbers and doing research and trying to stop Jake, basically stop the gospel from being spread, the real gospel. All right. That's how you know that we're at the end, man. So I'll end it there, man. Hopefully you brothers were edified. Call halal Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem Rachak Wadash Wa Abba Babal Shalom.